Recording in progress. Welcome back, everyone, to the Gestalt Get-Together. If you're joining live, thank you so much for being here. If you wish you had joined live, you should head over to SpeechTherapyPD.com to become a member, and you can use my code Gestalt33 to get your first CEU for free. Now, before we get started, it's important that I provide my financial disclosures to be in line with ethical standards for ASHA. I'm the owner of my private practice, Crescendo Communication. I sell online products and online courses, and I do receive compensation for episodes of the Gestalt Get-Together. Now, in tonight's episode, I have a guest here to talk about hyperlexia, which is a passion of hers. Liz Watson is a lifelong school-based SLP with a passion for working with hyperlexic kids. She specializes in the preschool age group and loves AAC. Her financial disclosures that she's a writer for The Informed SLP and has written a book for hyperlexic children. Now let's set the stage for tonight's episode. Hyperlexia is often misunderstood, even by well-meaning parents and professionals. Some see it as a negative thing that impedes the child's ability to grow and develop because these GLPs are so hyper-focused on letters, and it might be the only thing they show deep interest in. We hope that this episode will help speech-language pathologists and parents who might be listening later understand hyperlexia, identify different types of symbol sets and human codes, and learn how to describe these interests as strengths that can be leveraged for language, play, and social interactions. So with all of that, I want to say welcome to the podcast, Liz.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Great to have you. So I like to ask my guests what brought them into this world of Gestalt language processing, and for you, hyperlexia. Tell us your story.
Well, I would say when I came out of grad school, I had never heard of hyperlexia or anything like that. And I went straight into working in the schools, and it became really clear how common this was. I worked with so many kids who were obsessed with letters, and I started to hear the word hyperlexia be thrown around. And the term GLP came much, much later. And pretty much across all of the different school systems across the country that I've worked in, I'm always encountering hyperlexic kids. They're everywhere. So they just kind of became my favorite type of kid to work with.
And once you see it and know it, you can't unsee it. I know learning about hyperlexia, I looked back at earlier clients. I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I had known. So I could have known how to lean into those skills and help it. Let's start with the basics. How would you define and describe hyperlexia?
So the most basic part of it is an early and intense interest in letters and words, and a very early, almost effortless ability to read and decode, sometimes as young as like 18 months. So that's like the basics, but going along with that, you also see kids who really love visual types of patterns, kids who are interested in writing and spelling, numbers, and other systems like logos, traffic signs, things like that. And typically when you see hyperlexic kids, they are also autistic. There can be hyperlexic children who don't have autism. I have not met any yet, but typically they're autistic, although not all autistic kids are hyperlexic, of course. And going along with it, there's also often challenges with comprehension.
That's a very important part of it that I want to spend some more time on. You mentioned the connection to autism, and I wanted to share with everyone, there's a paper written in 2024. I am going to be putting the link here in the chat for anyone who is joining us live. This paper is called Enhanced Interest in Letters and Numbers in Autistic Children, and this was by Osterlenk et al. And here are some numbers that relate to what you said. So they looked at 2 different studies within their paper. They found that between 22 to 37% of autistic children had an intense or exclusive interest in letters. The odds of having a greater interest in letters was 2.78 times higher for autistic kids than typically developing kids. And for interest in numbers or hypernumeracy, it was 3.49 times higher. So hypernumeracy was actually found to be even higher.
Interesting.
And right, I found that interesting too.
Yeah.
And what's, I think the next layer is, so 2.78 times higher for hyperlexia, 3.49 times higher for hypernumeracy, even though 76% of the autistic children studied were minimally or nonverbal. So even if they are non-speaking, even if they're non-speaking or minimally speaking, they were still showing all these signs of hyperlexia and hypernumeracy. So even if they weren't necessarily able to speak, they were showing it as well.
Yeah, I would say the majority, maybe not the full majority, but a lot of the kids I know who are hyperlexic are also minimally speaking and either AAC users or emerging AAC users.
Right. So let's talk more now that we've kind of set the scene for hyperlexia. A big topic I wanted to talk about, and definitely we'll get to comprehension, but I want to speak to these ideas of symbol sets. So letters, symbol set, numbers, symbol set. Let's talk more about the other ones that we might see or might need to like start to see.
Yeah.
So tell me about some of your favorite symbol sets.
And I think this is also important because a lot of times kids will become obsessed with like the alphabet, the English alphabet, because that's what they're exposed to. But if they're exposed to other like alphabets through their native language, or symbols like Chinese characters through their native language, or whatever they're exposed to, if it fits this like definition of like being a system, often they might become really interested in that as well. So I've seen, definitely different alphabet systems. Greek, Armenian, Arabic writing, the Arabic writing system, Chinese characters, and then also different number systems, Greek numbers, regular numbers, whatever. Solar system is a big one. The periodic table, taxonomy systems. Gosh, what else? Logos are a big one. Like just general logos, McDonald's, Nike, things like that. Traffic signs, stats, like sports statistics, I think kind of goes in that category. I had one kid that was obsessed with college women's gymnastics sports statistics, and I thought I loved that one. He was only 3. It was amazing.
Were you able to do any detective work of where that came from? Was it a parent's passion, something they like to watch?
I think it came from just watching YouTube videos of gymnastics. I'm assuming maybe he went to gymnastic class. I actually don't know. Because he just came to me that way.
Right? Because I love finding out like the origin story, but sometimes the origin story was just the algorithm did something. And
Yes.
the kid was just like, that's it. That's my passion now.
Yeah.
You just
And I love
reminded
when
me.
you
Oh yeah.
can like see it happen in front of you. Like you introduce them to something new and you see like the wheels turning and they're like, oh, this is my new obsession.
All right. Tell me, can you think of an example of that?
Definitely have seen it with the solar system. That's like a big one that I tend to
Yeah.
introduce to hyperlexic kids because it's really fun to touch on their AAC device. It's really fun to draw. It just leads to a lot of language. So definitely the solar system is one I see.
Yeah. The ordered systems, like
Mm-hmm.
the closed sets of information that have order are so
Yes.
compelling because it's this, yeah, it's container contents, and that
Mm-hmm.
predictability we can assume feels really soothing.
Mm-hmm.
um, that ordered nature in a disordered world, looking for things that are ordered, kind of like a lighthouse. It's like, oh, there you are. No matter what I'm experiencing in my life, Mercury is going to be first, and you cannot change my mind that Pluto is going to be last. You
Yeah.
cannot. I refuse to leave Pluto out. Some of my hyperlexic kids, when I if they leave Pluto out, I will respect that difference. But if
Yeah,
I
you can't
forget,
argue with that.
oh, the looks I get. I've heard like, no Pluto, and I'm a millennial. You're breaking my heart.
I know
Um,
they have a totally different like acronym than we had.
yeah, changes everything. You reminded me of with the stats. I have an older GLP I work with who knows like songs, year they were released,
Oh,
artists,
yeah.
like all that whole system. And you can kind of, I can see it in my mind when she's able to reference it and pull it out about like how all this is a way of organizing information, and there's complexity to it. It's about year, it's about album, it's about artist, it's about relationships to songs, the ordering of it.
That's fascinating. And that's hard because it's like never ending. Like at least
Yeah.
other systems are like have like the alphabet has 26 letters and that's it.
Mm-hmm. And
Songs
hers
are
is
forever. There's so many.
right. And I think it might just be kind of an iterative process, or like this, like early hyperlexia with that closed set of 26, then
Mhm.
allowed for this kind of open set of information that is limitless.
Yeah.
Um, and so you're starting with something that is predictable and ordered, and then it opens up this whole world for her of all of these different permutations and combinations.
Mhm. That's awesome.
Um, so I would love to also, I think it's so helpful to hear more examples and more anecdotes so that listeners can maybe recognize their child or their client in it. Do you have any hyperlexic kids who come to mind immediately, or you want to share a story about?
Yes. So many, but there is one child that I work with now who will do basically any task or any activity as long as it's presented in alphabetical order. So it's a
Mm.
really good way to teach new skills. We started out by doing animals, and we would request animals from A to Z and line them up. And so by the end of every session, we'd have a line of an animal for every single letter of the alphabet. And then I wanted to kind of break that and expand on it a little bit. So we did fruits or foods. I think we did random objects, which was a challenge because he was like, these don't all go together. But once he realized they were in alphabetical order, he was like, I guess it's fine. And then I kind of expanded on that to action words because we were great at requesting nouns and labeling nouns, and I was like, we really need to expand on the actions we can use. So I compiled um, just action cards from A to Z, one action for every single letter. And we were able to form sentences on his AAC using those action words.
I love that. This is so great. I was furiously taking notes. Okay, so doing any activity in ABC order, I like this. So you're doing categorical vocabulary arranged in ABC order. And I love
Mm-hmm.
that because that's another set. I think about my clients who love fruits,
Yeah.
like fruit as topic or vegetable as category. So it's
Mm-hmm.
cool because it sounds like you're doing something that I refer to as set mixing. And set
Mm-hmm.
mixing is this really rich form of like play stretch where you're taking two different sets and you're layering them on top of each other. So
Yeah.
fruits, there isn't an order to fruits. Now, I've got clients in the distance yelling at me being like, yes, there is, because the first order I ever saw them in is the order, or the order on my AAC device is the order. I hear you guys.
Yes.
But in general, you're taking an unordered set. I don't know if that's unordered is a word. A set without order, and then you're taking a set with like initial order, and then you're putting them together. That's a really good way to increase cognitive flexibility. That's great.
Yeah, while still like respecting the interest and keeping that engagement, and it still kind of being child-led, but also creating more flexibility, like you said.
It's interest-led, and you're showing that there's cool ways to expand upon that, giving more choices.
Yeah, and formulating like functional language around it while it's still respecting that like they want to talk about the alphabet.
Yes. Yeah, it's a really good balance. And then what a great idea to think about expanding parts of speech through that. I've never considered that direction, but that's inspiring me. That's fantastic.
Well, if you work with kids with touch chat, the fact that the actions and the describe, like the adjectives there's an A to Z button, it makes it super easy. So if you're using touch chat and you can go to like the A to Z actions and find an action for every letter, it's very easy and fun for them. It's fun for me too.
Yeah, it's a great connection there. Yeah, it makes it easier for you too to find that list. Yeah, I'm a big fan of touch chat for GLPs. Okay, so that's a great I feel like that's really actionable for people listening, and I'm definitely going to take that with me. I'd love to go back to the foreign language topic, because this is one when I see Facebook groups that people are in, or Reddit posts, it's common for people to be like, my kid loves Russian, but we don't speak Russian. So this is often something that gets parents Googling because it baffles them. How does my quote monolingual kid know the entire Russian alphabet?
Yeah.
So do you have any kids who come to mind with their interest in foreign languages? Because I definitely have one, but I'd love for you to start.
Yeah, I totally agree. And yes, sometimes it can be, I've seen it with like the parents' home language, they get into that alphabet system, but it's even more interesting, like you said, when they're like monolingual English speaking and something just like comes up in the algorithm, like you said, that's like the Russian alphabet or Armenian or Hungarian, something like that. And they're like, this is my new thing. This is amazing. I need to learn more about it. And, sometimes I think I have to do a little education with parents. Like, they're not speaking Russian. They can't communicate in Russian, and that's okay. They don't need to, but they're interested in like the letter system that it is that they have found that the Russian language uses to write. And we can use that. We can totally use that as a strength.
Yeah. And it could also like be that the prosody of it and the musicality of the language appeals to them too. I definitely see patterns in the languages, like overarching patterns in the languages that a lot of kids are drawn to. It's ones that have big prosodic curves. There's a lot of melody in them.
Interesting. I never thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I see. I mean, Russian is like, it's kind of become a joke at this point for GLP therapists. They're like, oh, I got another kid who loves Russian.
Yeah. And I've seen Russian too, I think.
Yeah. Korean as well. I see a pattern there. Arabic, definitely.
Definitely Arabic and Chinese.
Yep. And so the Arabic one, that reminds me of a client who I'm working with, who his mom is such a character. She is down for anything GLP. She's like, all right, let's do it. She's so open to all these ideas. So she comes in, we work together at the library. She goes, Corinne, why is my kid speaking Arabic? And he's pretty minimally speaking at the time, connecting to English, expressing himself through spoken English. It's a real challenge. And Arabic started to outpace it very quickly. And again, there's some education going. It was fascinating.
And they weren't being exposed to spoken Arabic at all anywhere?
Nope, it was his algorithm. I think it started with ABC. Definitely, I mean, hyperlexic. Like textbook. And so I think that watching alphabet content on YouTube probably opened up all of these pathways to some other foreign language. And then even if it wasn't Arabic at first, he got there, and then it did something for him. He said, yes, this makes sense to me. I love this. And so I don't speak Arabic. Mom doesn't speak Arabic. But because this is such a passion for him, we've leaned into it. And, I got that question from his mom of, well, how would this even be useful? And it's more so how can we use this and connect with him over this passion to then build these other skills?
Yes.
So something that we started doing, because he's kind of operating at this point, kind of what we would describe or relate to as that stage 2, if we're talking about natural language acquisition for GLPs, with that mixing and matching, slot into frame, subbing in or out one word, kind of some people refer to it as Mad Libs. And he would look at us and just say the name of the letter. He'd go, Alif, Alif. And once we figured out what Alif was kind of connected to A in English, then you're saying, okay, what can we create a slot for in a formula for that letter name to go in? Now, because he's hyperlexic, I booked the room with a whiteboard in the library. It is non-negotiable. We are in the room with the whiteboard. I own so many whiteboards. But we wrote out, and I use a lot of rhythm too. I wrote out, can you write the letter blank? And so, can you write the letter Aleph? And he immediately picked up on this formula, kind of like the math of language. And then we went through the entire alphabet together. So his passion was at the end, but he had to connect with the English to get to that passion first.
That's amazing. And so much functional language was probably used throughout that entire activity that could hopefully later be generalized to something else. Maybe not right away, but eventually.
And it was, he refers to his mom's phone as charger. So he would, can you charger? And it was yes, we got it.
That's amazing. I love that. Those moments always make me want to cry.
Right. Oh my gosh. I know. I get a little too emotional. But at the library too, there's that, it depends on the library, but we found the foreign language section for kids where there are my first words in, my first phrases in. So that could be something for people listening. Go check out what's available at your local library for kids books for other languages.
Definitely. There's always at least Chinese, Spanish, sometimes Korean at my library, and Arabic as well. So I love that. And I love how you brought up using the slots or whatever you call it, the Mad Libs. I think that's a really good way to incorporate hyperlexia and into your language therapy, especially with minimally speaking kids who are working on AAC. And a lot of times you'll see them really hyperfixate on the alphabet keyboard page to the exclusion of everything else. And sometimes I know well-meaning, teachers or aides might want to hide that page because it's a distraction, or they see it as a distraction. And I understand the impulse, but what I always tell them is how can we make this functional? So what they're at the 1 to 2 word level. What one word can we add to make this a sentence? And I usually start with write A, write B. And almost every hyperlexic preschooler I know will sit down and watch you write the letters, especially if they can't write them yet themselves. So okay, they can request write A, write B, write C, and it becomes an opportunity for connection. It becomes a functional language activity. They're using their device functionally, and it just the opportunities are endless.
Right. And this is a place where they'll sit and watch you do that all day. And you might think, if you're new to this, okay, but I'm after one time doing that, will it get old, or are we kind of stuck? The amount of modifications and stretches you can do on writing down letters and numbers. So many.
Right. Blue A, right. Green B.
Exactly. Or even doing like modulating case, uppercase, lowercase, doing a
Mhm.
pattern of uppercase, lowercase.
Yeah, yeah, that's another good way to practice big little, big
It
A, little
is.
a.
I've also done like wavy B versus straight B. So like just all these silly little ways of playing with, or bumpy C versus smooth C.
Oh, I
And
like
get some
that.
adjectives in there.
Yeah.
Um, Another stretch, and this was for my the same GLP who was before Arabic, when we were still just interested in English. He, not out of nowhere, because for him there was a very clear paper trail. For me, there wasn't. He went, draw his. I love the way he talks. It's so emphatic. He goes, draw BA. And I was like, all right, we're in it, because now here's our set mixing again. Emotion
Yeah.
words with letters.
Yeah.
And now we're personifying the letters. And A's got that perfect little triangle for a face to go in. So we went
Yep.
through the whole alphabet with emotions. I was able to teach new emotion words there
That's a great
because,
idea. I'm going to use that literally tomorrow.
well, I mean, there's already things you've said that I'm literally going to use tomorrow. Um, and what was great, this was when I used to see him at his school, and we were outside and we had chalk. And all the other kids are really curious, who's this lady hanging out with my pal? And they want to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
These kids, they can draw a smiley face inside the letter O. They could
Yeah.
draw a sad face inside the letter Q. And now we've got peer connection
Yep.
through the hyperlexia.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a great opportunity for interaction that's like respectful to the kid and to the peers.
Yeah, it's a nice like in between, where the other kids, it's a nice challenge for them. They feel that connection,
Mhm.
but exactly, it's not, let's teach my client how to play like you. It's, hey,
Mhm.
come see how your friend is playing and how
Yeah.
you can connect over. I remember my client's face. He was like, what is happening right now? It was cool.
That's really
Um,
cool.
I feel like more examples and anecdotes are going to come in as we continue to talk about this, but I want to make sure we have time to talk about the comprehension piece,
Mhm.
because I think that hyperlexic kids can be misunderstood in a lot of ways, but we get concerned about um, comprehension, like people not realizing that comprehension is low. So tell us more about that.
Yeah. So I think hyperlexic kids, especially the more verbal ones who have really good memory, really like memorize facts really well, um, and have a really wide vocabulary at first. You see them, you're like, okay, you're reading on a third grade level and you're 4, and you know all these facts. You're so, they're so smart. There's no question about that. They're so smart. And sometimes maybe they might have some more social challenges, but people are like, oh, academics, not a problem. Don't need academics on the IEP.
Mm.
And I would challenge that, because what happens a lot is that these kids can decode so well, and they can memorize facts, they can memorize what they read. But the actual comprehension beyond just the literal is really challenging for them. And a lot of times these kids can make it through kindergarten, first grade, second grade, even with their reading skills. And then once they get a little bit later in elementary school and they're actually having to read harder content, they're reading text that has multiple meaning words, figurative
Mm.
language, idioms, references to, world experiences that they might not have had. And they really start to struggle with comprehension. So I really try to work on that, like starting in preschool.
Okay.
And I can talk about some of the ways to do that as well.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So number one, I want to make sure that like I'm not promoting like removing letters in any way, or like withholding letters, I guess is what I mean. I'm not promoting that necessarily, but to work on comprehension, I think we do need to remove the text.
Mm.
So for example, if there is a book that we're reading, and I often will cover up the words when I'm asking questions, because they often will respond by reading what's on the page. And a lot of times their answer is correct, especially the younger kids when the questions are pretty simple. But I might like cover up the words with my hands, ask a question, wait for the response, and then move on and let them read the words afterwards. Another good way is to use picture scenes with no text, and have like the WH questions, and if they need it, using visual answer choices. So no words whatsoever, because then they're really forced to listen to the language, to formulate the language, to respond, or at least to choose a visual choice, without being able to rely on that like superhuman strength they have, or that superhuman ability to decode.
So it's almost like strengthening other pathways in the brain.
Yeah. Strengthening their ability to comprehend language, oral language itself. And having that oral language knowledge will help them later on when they are learning, when they are reading, to be able to actually understand the meaning behind what they're reading beyond just what they're decoding.
How do you choose, like if you're doing a visual scene, how do you make choices about that? Because I could imagine that going a lot of different directions. How do you pick what you use?
Oh, about like what the scene would look like? Or
yeah.
Honestly, well, number one, if there's something that they're interested in, I would definitely try and do that. But I typically try to find something relatively simple, sometimes even black and white, and a scene like from their daily experiences, like a kid brushing his teeth at the sink, something that like every kid has probably experienced, and being able to ask like, what are they doing? Who's brushing their teeth? What are they using to brush their teeth? And sometimes they might respond on their AAC, which is fine. Like being able to navigate to like the hygiene page and then ask the question, what are they using to brush their teeth? And helping them to answer toothbrush. But when there's like a book or a picture scene that has like a sentence, like the boy is brushing his teeth, I do find that sometimes they'll repeat the boy is brushing his teeth as a response to every question. And you're like, well, that actually is kind of answering the questions, but I don't think, you're using that right part of your brain to process the question I'm asking. You're reading the words.
Yeah, there's not that analysis going on and the decision making about language there. I'm thinking about kids who have special interest in media. I think about, my Moana lovers, like the Frozen kids, any sort of, and the How to Train Your Dragon Club. Oh my gosh, those kids go hard. They are very passionate. Would you ever consider using a scene from a favorite show or piece of content, like doing a screenshot and then doing questions about that?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think it would kind of depend on the kid as to whether they would be able to break away from their like scripts from the movie.
Yeah.
Like certain kids for sure, I know, would be like not be able to stop scripting the Frozen songs, which is fine. That's super fun. We can still do that in therapy.
Yeah.
But for certain kids, if I was able to like create Elsa doing a bunch of different actions, I love doing things like that. And then they get to say like, Elsa is running, Elsa is eating. So it's fun for them, and they're building their vocabulary and language.
Yeah, I definitely am a big fan of using Canva for things like that. And I'll even sometimes just like, instead of like a printable or something, doing it live, if you're able to use screens in whatever setting you guys are in. Like on Canva, I'm able to like grab a character and make them do flips or change the orientation. So there can be some movement there too. And that can be really engaging. Or if anyone's doing telehealth with a GLP or hyperlexic kid, you can also build the scene as you go if you're doing it. And then they can even make decisions about what is being added to the scene and then answer questions about it.
That's like bringing me back to the COVID year. Definitely helpful to create scenes on telehealth. If you still do that, then that is a perfect way to incorporate that.
I feel like I bring it back to narratives all the time, of using narratives as a way to build meaning, and also the ability to do it through play, object play as well, where if I see a child recreating a scene. Sometimes I see them recreating like a tableau. So setting up everything to match a scene, um, or like filling up a dollhouse, or it might be more active reenactment. That's also a place where it can bring in more language shifted and help grow there too.
Yeah.
So let's so let me look at my notes because I want to make sure that we talk about some of my other favorite things. Oh, you know what I wanted to reference? As I was preparing for this episode, because I know you and we work with younger kids, but with older kids, I'm not as well versed in that, but some of the things that I was reading about people finding success with, one is called story mapping, and I call it storyboarding. So creating a story that moves horizontally, so it kind of represents the passage of time, and building comprehension of how like a narrative moves along. And they were talking about actually using the text, putting in text as they were doing it. But it reminded me of something I've been trying, of calling it like a storyboard or a comic book strip, where the picture, like I draw the pictures already exist, but I'll put in speech bubbles or thought bubbles. And then the child has to generate what goes into those speech bubbles or thought bubbles. And I found that for kids who are used to reading books that have speech and thought bubbles filled in, it's irritating to see an empty one. And that irritation, because it feels incomplete. Like these things are always full.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to fill it now. And then they're making decisions and they're generating language to put in those thought bubbles.
And they're like perspective taking, like what would this person be saying?
Yeah. Oh, I haven't even thought about it like that. It's also a great conversation if I set up, I'm very often sketching out like a scenario for, but like for their real life. So I might sketch the kid, I might sketch their dad, and then I create those thought bubbles. And now they have to think about that relationship with this person in their life, and then hopefully fill it in with some language there.
That's really fun. I love that idea.
I'm noticing that someone in the chat mentioned comic strip conversations by Carol Gray. I'm going to quickly look into that while we start our next topic. You mentioned a couple instances of AAC and hyperlexia, and talked about how to help with comprehension there and growing language. But I want to lean into that because AAC is an important topic. What else do you think is important for people to know about hyperlexia and AAC?
A lot. And I would say like majority right now I'm working with, I think like 7 or 8 AAC users, and probably about half of them I would categorize as either GLPs or hyperlexic or both. And number one is that just because the kid is hyperlexic and can read doesn't mean that they are going to learn the AAC system spontaneously, quickly, and independently. There obviously are cases where you give a kid an AAC device and they instantly just get it, and they're requesting and making sentences, and it's amazing. And those kids, it's so rewarding when that happens. But I do see a lot of times, people, whether it's like families or other teachers, paras, feeling like down because they're like, well, they can read, but they're not using this functionally. They're just looking at the planets page. They're just looking at the letters page. They're just repeating brown bear over and over again. And I'm like, but that, like, first, compared to a kid who has no interest in their AAC device, like that's giving you somewhere to start. So like, how can we build on this interest, the interest that they're showing on their AAC device? How can we turn that functional? And like, we are the teachers, we have to model, we have to teach them. And it really falls on the people who are with them all day, every day. As the SLPs, we're often just with them 2 times a week for 30 minutes or even less than that. And if that's the only time where they're getting direct instruction on how to use the device, then they're not going to learn how to use it functionally. And it is just going to be a fun way to explore planets and letters. And I think it can totally be both. But that's one thing I do see a lot that can be challenging.
when you're programming or making AAC programming decisions, or just, I guess, modeling decisions for what's already on there, do you tend to have, I know it's always, it depends on the kid, but do you tend to focus on modeling and programming single words, or do you prefer to start modeling programming more phrasal based potential gestalts?
I would say for the most part, I am programming single words.
Okay.
But like you said, there are certain kids, especially ones who maybe are nonverbal, but they're really into YouTube videos and they're really into like playing certain parts of YouTube videos over and over. I will take clips of their favorites, record them, and make it a button so that they can kind of use it as an expressive language tool that they don't have to like be on YouTube in order to use. So that is one of my favorite things to do. And sometimes it works and sometimes it flops, but it's always worth a try.
What does a flop look like?
A flop would be like me thinking that this kid is using Wheels on the Bus to communicate something and making a whole page on his AAC that has all the different parts of his favorite Coco Melon version of Wheels on the Bus recorded with the associated picture, and thinking like, this is going to be something amazing. And he looked at it and then, immediately was like, well, this isn't YouTube. So I don't care about this at all, which is fine. I was like, it's fine. I only spent 30 minutes on this. And now it's on there just in case you ever need it in the future, dude.
We have to practice so much, like, just acceptance in this job of like, I think about when a child has a new special interest and I'm like, all right, I'm going to research it this weekend. I'm going to watch that movie. I'm going to learn all the characters. And then you come back the next week and they're over it.
Or like you like buy, that's the worst for me, is like I will buy things for them. I'm like, they're gonna love this.
You jinx it when you do that.
Yeah, and then I bring it in. I'm like, oh, you're not interested anymore. Okay, I guess I'll just do it.
The good thing is that so many hyperlexic kids and GLPs, what they love, some kid 6 months from now is gonna love. So you just
totally
save my Bluey figurines for
a future. They will be used again, definitely.
So let's talk about some other of these. Let's talk about some of these like codes or symbol sets, maybe one by one. And I want to brainstorm live how you could turn that into a therapy activity. You ready?
Love that. Yeah.
All right. So, and also for those of you who are here live, I would love for you to participate, open up your chat. I'm going to say a symbol set or a way of organizing information. I want you guys to think of what would you do tomorrow to take this interest into a therapy session. All right, first one, license plates.
What can we do with plates? What can we do with license plates? So are they're into the numbers on the license plate or the states? Because both. It could be either.
Both. Set and mix.
I guess like a lot of times I try to think of what core word would go with the interest. And so for a license plate, I think of go. So I'm like, okay, we have a little like visual book of different license plates, and like, oh, like let's each one we're going to say go to whatever. Yeah. And we're going to make something up. Like we could either say the state on there if they're into that, or we could just say, let's go to the beach. Let's go to, and they can read the license plate for each one, or like this car goes to whatever. That's what I came up with on the fly. Do you have a better idea?
No, we're not doing better here. We're just simply adding more. I just, in this conversation, you keep saying things where I'm like, I should have thought of that. It's like this joyful jealousy. Love it. It's one of my favorite feelings, but like another SLP, I'm like, oh, I wish I thought of that. What popped into my head is I would make little license plates and put them on the back of cars, like toy cars. And then we can like send them down ramps. So maybe like Louisiana's going down the track. So you can either do like letters and numbers. I love, like, I always bring Post-its with me because they're sticky. And I'll write I'd write down the license plate and then put it on the back of a car or a bus, something like that.
Yeah, or you
Oh,
could have them, sorry, you could also have them request the letters and the numbers they want on the license plate.
oh, okay, next level. We got to do a code sheet. This is great. Oh, we have some people in the chat. Oh, Joni, I think you beat me to that. Yeah, car play with Matchbox cars with license plates. You beat me to it.
Amazing.
Nice. We have someone else saying working on where and prepositions for states on a map. Nice. So making that the state, then you're making that connection between two different ways of organizing information. Map-based or geographical organization of these words, but then also license plate organization. So cool to find the overlaps of these symbol sets and these codes.
Very cool. Set mixing, like you say.
Set mixing. I love that phrase. I remember the day that I said that phrase for the first time, and I was just like, oh, we're locked in. This is what I'm calling it.
I'm going to use it now. It's great.
Yeah, cool. Trademark. Okay. Chandler shared hiding license plates and looking for specific states in hide and seek. So searching for them. And let's see what else. Oh, a great like slot and frame or formula. I see a blank. Those are solid. All right, you ready for the next one? Let's do different types of street signs. Maybe yield, stop, pedestrians.
Traffic signs. I mean, obviously having like the little wooden ones that have the word that you can set up on the little map.
Yeah, that's what I thought of.
And then having them give you directions, like drive to the yield sign, drive to the stop sign, or you giving them directions. But oh my gosh, there's probably so many more creative things you could do with those as well. Trying to think, maybe pasting them around. I work in a school, so I would probably bring them up and down the hallway and walk around the hallway and practice, like either doing what the sign says, reading the sign, bringing a peer, doing something fun with a peer with it.
I like it. Ooh, okay. Laundry basket. Kid in laundry basket. Put the signs around the house. Push them around like they're in the car.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
If you don't have a laundry basket or the kid is too big, blanket on the floor, pull them on the blanket.
Easy. Yeah.
Easy.
Definitely. Or a scooter.
Scooter. Okay, that's fancy. Okay. I like that. Cool. Yeah, I can't think of anything like totally genius for that one, but those are some solid, those are some practical ideas. Calendars.
Oh, I love a calendar lover. I had a kid who dressed as a calendar for Halloween. It was so cute.
What did that look like?
His mom literally made him like he was like wearing sort of like a box and it had like December on it. And he was just walking around like, I'm December.
Oh my gosh. I was like, is that his favorite? No, it's because it's, wait, was it though?
Was it what?
Did he just love December?
I don't remember why it was December. He must have just liked December.
There's got to be.
It probably should have been October because it was Halloween.
That's what I caught myself. I was like, wait, October. Okay, so calendars. What can we do with those?
I've noticed with kids who like calendars, they tend to also like historic dates. So
interesting.
If they're like into cars, then I'll be like, I know nothing about cars, but like what year was the Camaro made? And then we'll like talk about the date that was made, something like along those lines.
Yeah. Someone is, wow, a lot of great ideas. Using calendar passion to talk about before and after.
Oh, so yeah, duh. July, that's so smart.
Yeah, like July comes after June. June comes after May. I'm always going to put a little music in there whenever I.
When questions, when is Christmas? It's in December. Perfect. When questions are hard.
But with a calendar, it's visualizing the passage of
there's
time.
Like visual choices. Yep.
And like a flip, like an old school flip calendar, then you're holding the passage of time in your hand too. So I'm always thinking like, can I hear it? Can I see it? Can I hold it to bring this concept to light? Yeah. Do you also find that there's the category of holidays is a popular one?
Yes. Yeah. And knowing like what date holidays are on, but not necessarily like a lot of times it's just like the facts of the holidays when they are, but not necessarily like why we celebrate the holiday. It's
Oh,
just
no.
like, yeah.
Yeah. I think what I see is like not the symbology, but kind of like the avatars or the like thematic elements of a holiday. Like I kind of almost see it. I don't know if taxonomy is the right word, but think about like if you're imagining the tree, holiday, and then the types of the holidays themselves,
Yeah.
holidays category, then the holidays themselves, and then kind of the iconography that falls underneath it. So
Yeah.
like Halloween, then you've got this tree downward of witch, skeleton, pumpkin.
Yes. Yeah.
Christmas, then you've got this downward tree of like Santa, reindeer. So it's all these icons that fall underneath. I could see maybe how in a hyperlexic or symbols oriented kid's brain, it's all very organized.
Yeah.
Concept, components, and then subcomponents underneath it.
And it's predictable. It's going to happen the same time every year. You're going to see all the same stuff. It's very it's very dependable.
Yes, exactly. It's so interesting, reminding me of I have a client who, and this speaks to the fascinating passage of time ability that some autistic kids have. It's December and he starts humming jingle bells. He starts humming the carols. No one's told him it's December. People assumed he didn't understand like the passage of time month to month, but he just started singing and humming all of these Christmas songs, almost like, no, I know that this is where I am in the passage of time.
It just goes to show like how much more is going on in kids' brains than we even realize.
Right? Because if we're not seeing the behavioral expressions of it, and that's where so much of like the digging and detective work comes in.
Yes.
And the importance of connecting with them over it, because if we're seeing these passions, assuming that there's so much more, beyond that surface level, if you're connecting with them there, you're more likely to then go down deeper with them. But you can't go down deeper unless you're like actually willing to jump in that pond with them.
Yeah, you really have to be curious, like very curious and very open to whatever happens in your session happens. Like I am a Virgo and I like control, but like having to let go of that, you have to let go of that with these kids.
No one's ever brought up their sign on podcast. Quick, everybody in the chat, what's your star sign? I'm a Cancer, so I just cry all the time.
Sounds right.
I want to talk about ways to actually no, let's do numbers. So numbers is a symbol set. I feel like this one has unlimited possibilities. What could we do therapeutically with a hypernumeric kid?
I mean, oh my gosh, there's so many things, but I'm thinking of like just having like two different, like you said, two different sets that we're working with, or like we're working on like one red horse, two yellow ducks. And so adding like the descriptor in there and then creating sets so that they're formulating like 2 to 3 word utterances.
I like that. I was thinking about, and this could be really good for older kids, but I do have I mentioned this to you earlier, the 7-year-old client, where they've taken his love of letters and numbers and are using it with recipes.
So they're
cooking together.
That's so smart.
And there's sequencing involved. There could be narrative there too if it's a family recipe. But you look at
first,
a recipe,
then like
everything.
So many concepts, action words that they probably don't know, like haven't used consistently.
And like, I bet, any OTs listening would be like, yes, exactly. Because then we've got fine motor, we've got pouring, we've got measuring cups. They got some numbers on there. So thinking about fractions. What's in your house? What objects in your house might be of interest? Clocks, like measuring cups. I think about if you have a scale in your house too, putting different things on a scale. How much does this weigh?
Or like a yardstick, measuring tape, anything like that.
So it's, let me take this passion and gently stretch it outwards. And then you can move into more and more like, like in quotes, functional things.
Yeah.
But it's these activities that can produce really cool results. You engage with the letters and numbers of a recipe, and then you've got food at the end. Or we lean into numbers with yardsticks and measuring sticks, and now we've built something together.
Yeah.
So you can take this passion and move it out into project-based learning, which can be really good for older kids and very rewarding too. All right, let me see. I want to do one more. What about, I'm curious if anyone here live has one that they've seen that we haven't brought up yet. Oh, musical notation. Why didn't I bring this up first? So
music, you're going to have to cover that one.
Okay, I got you.
You're the music person.
Okay. So musical notation is actually one of my favorite set mixing opportunities, because hyperlexic GLP, a lot of them have just a musical gift. And that gift is often rooted in their ability to connect with symbol systems and this code, this human code that we've developed around the phenomenon of sound. So I love introducing sheet music pretty early, because if you look at sheet music, it's highly organized. We've got those 5 lines, we've got 4 spaces, and there's letters and there's numbers, and it's all in there together in this like beautiful, organized, most of the time, interaction of different symbol sets. And so if a kid has a favorite song, I'm going to go find the sheet music for that online. I'm going to print it out, and I'm just going to leave it there, because I also have a lot of hyperlexic GLPs with demand avoidance. So if I come in really hot with my sheet music, they're probably not going to want to interact with it. So I will just kind of, what's the word from the demand avoidance world? Strewing. I will just strew this sheet music out, see if they're interested in it. And I've had moments where a kid looks at it and I see it. You can just see this like click moment where they see a bunch of their different symbol sets in one place. And there's just this click that happens. But then I had a client who looked at it. I saw the click, but he was like, whatever. So then I grabbed markers and I did another set mix, an overlay of C is red, the D note is orange, and the E note's going to be yellow. And then I just mapped the rainbow order onto the note order.
That's so smart.
And that sparked a lot for him.
And then like once they are interested, how does it like move? Like, what do they do with this? What do they do with the sheet music? Are they like picking up a violin? Like, what's happening?
I see an early interest in piano. Piano is great because it's a horizontal presentation of sound. It's highly ordered. It's this, I think about, hyperlexic GLPs. They might like lining things up, maybe. And so we've got this horizontal, ordered, gradual lineup of sound to make sense of. And then there's the overlay of letters. And I heard from some people that it's not best practice to label the letters on piano keys, like if you're formally learning music.
Oh, interesting.
I'm very torn on that myself, because it's such a great way to connect a kid with an instrument. So I'm torn between 2 worlds.
Well, you're not, when you're connecting with when you're connecting for the purpose of like a hyperlexic kid, I don't know, I'm not a piano teacher, but it seems like it would make sense.
Yeah. And so for me, it's like, I am a speech language pathologist. So like, I am going to label the piano keys. I'm so sorry. But that's another moment where like, they come to life. They see that mapping happen. And so that could be something to consider. Especially I think about families where they've got a piano in the home and they would love for their kid to interact with it beyond just like the boom, boom, boom. That could be something to consider. And what I've done as a compromise is, if it's a keyboard, not a real piano, please don't do this on a real piano, using an expo marker. a dry erase marker and writing on the keys.
Yeah.
Because then they're able to watch you write. You're co-creating that alphabetical order. But you can erase it off when you're done.
Yep. Thinking about, I'm not a musical person at all. So I haven't really considered that, but thinking now about how many autistic kids have such a talent for music, or like our musical prodigies, that makes so much sense, because it's just like it's a system, but it's just a system of sound instead of being visual. Yeah.
Yes. It's a system of sounds and silences and how they all relate to each other. And in the Western musical traditions, the mathematics under it, once you kind of crack the mathematics of it and how a lot of it is based on the number 4, it's really cool to see things click into place. And that's why I really like to sing and chant underneath what I say, because if I'm chanting instead of just talking, it's going to have more order and structure. Ba, 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 ba. They can anticipate that the syllables and the phonemes are going to fit somewhere that's more predictable than just kind of the free-flowing expressive speech coming from me.
Yeah.
So your language can fit inside. You can set mix your language on top of these other passions.
So yeah, there's so many possibilities. And I'm sure like someone out there has an even more interesting one that we haven't even thought of, but that's what I love about being an SLP, is seeing, I always say that's my favorite thing, is seeing like special interests that kids come up with.
It's really exciting. Yeah. I'll never forget the day that I watched a kid walk around. I was doing a music class. And so we were in this really cool old building. He did not care about the songs because he was checking out every electrical outlet in that place. And I was like, all right, electrical outlets.
There's somewhere to start.
Right. And I'm sitting there like strumming and singing Wheels on the Bus. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to like, let's go figure out a way to turn this into language. But it was not the time nor the place. Okay. So we're almost at the close of this episode. What I want to give an opportunity for you to do is share if there's one really powerful takeaway message for people listening about hyperlexia, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of pressure. I think just that like hyperlexia is a strength and something to be celebrated and something to be used as a foundation to build skills upon. And don't take away their letters.
Don't take away their letters.
Don't ever take away the letters.
It's such a great connection point. It just requires a little bit of creative thinking about how to like transmute it and iterate upon it. And I'm hoping that if you're able to listen to this episode, either live or later on streaming platforms, that you've come away with a couple ideas. Hyperlexia is such a cool topic. People have been talking about hyperlexia without the actual name of it since like 1917 was the first time that it was formally referenced. And then in 1967, that's when the term hyperlexia was coined by Silberberg and Silberberg. So there's not unlimited research out there, but if you're interested in looking into this, for those of you who are listening, please go check it out, because back in 1967, the Silberbergs were talking about it, and it's cool to see how the topic has shifted over time. There's been a lot of changes in how we talk about it, especially the more recent push about, hey, comprehension is going to need support. That's a more recent conversation people are having.
Totally. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming.
It was a blast.
Really fun. I know. I'm glad we did a little activity and brainstormed at the end. For those of you here who are live, thank you so much for your participation. A couple of you did share what your sun signs are in the chat. Appreciate it. We got a stubborn Taurus, we got a Scorpio, we got a Leo. All right, we got a good mix. Liz, thank you so much for sharing your passion for working with these passionate kids. I'm going to be back in a couple of weeks with a new episode, and I hope that you will all join me there again on the Gestalt Get-Together. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.